Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from AnthonysCustoms, and for this review I'm very excited to be reviewing the 4-inch Nell ROCKMAN figure, or Mega Man if you don't know what ROCKMAN is. It's the same character. So this guy is a smaller version of Mega Man than we've seen in the past. We really only have the D-Arts one to compare it to. Unfortunately, I don't actually have mine to compare it to. It's across the country since I'm in the middle of a move. But we don't really need to compare it directly. They're not quite the same size anyway, so you'll see. And if you want to check out that review, I have reviewed it before, and you should be able to see that on your screen. Hopefully I've added the link there. So anyway, this guy, it's a pretty good figure. It's not at a real high price point because it's a little bit smaller, but it has a lot of nice engineering and some things that aren't so great. But all around, it's a pretty solid figure, so let's get it off the stand and take a closer look. First impression on this guy is that he is rather small, but not exceptionally small. I think you'll be surprised that it doesn't feel all that tiny compared to other imports. He stands only about 4¼ inches tall, which makes him just shy of 11 centimeters, so he's not that tiny. It does look good though. It's all flat plastic, which most people I think don't realize that the flat paint job or flat plastic adds a certain quality to the figure that makes you think it's a better figure. And generally the better figures do have that, so they're not necessarily wrong. And it's no different here. It looks really nice and it feels like a quality figure. You have the light blue with the dark blue and then that medium blue throughout, so it looks pretty good. I've already swapped out his arms, but you can see the yellow on there. I have it facing out. And it's not bad. Could the yellow be a little cleaner? Yeah, probably, but it's not bad. The red on there is pretty nicely done. And then the face, it's just the same as that of a Figma or an SH Figure Arts or basically anything Sentinel has put together, so that's good. The red on the head, also fine. A little bit of black throughout on the back, that looks pretty good. No gems or jewels on this figure. So, unlike the D-Arts, it's all just painted, which isn't terrible. Now in terms of accessories, you already saw we have the interchangeable arm, which is the Buster. Then we have the two arms that are regular arms with fist hands, and you have interchangeable open hands if you want those. Lastly, for the body, we have an interchangeable face. We have the smiley one, and then the one that's more aggressive looking. And then in general, lastly, we have the Sentinel display stand, which is the exact same kind we've seen before. It's probably a little oversized for this figure, to be honest, but it's not a bad display stand, so that's okay. Now, this guy does have quite a bit of articulation to talk about, so we're just going to kind of go through it, and hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about, even though it's pretty compact. So inside the head, we have somewhat of a complex joint. We have a hinge at the very top that lets the head kind of fold in on itself. So you can see that right there. That lets him look up just a little bit more. And I don't know how well you can see it in here. It's that blue part back there, the light blue. It's just an extra little hinge that lets the whole head move, which is pretty cool. And then you have the hinge where the gray part connects to the blue. Then you have another hinge where this gray part connects to that blue. So it does allow for pretty decent range of motion in the head. You can see he's looking up, no problem at all. So that's going to be a nice addition. You can look down, no problem. And then you can rotate it, but it does sometimes throw it off at a funny angle. You just have to kind of finesse it a little bit. But I think you should be okay for the most part. Just be careful, it is small, so small things can break. Now he's supposed to, at least I assume, have a butterfly joint in here. That's what it looks like. Mine doesn't really want to move, so I can't really talk about that. That's kind of a bummer that it doesn't work. For the shoulder though, we have our traditional ball hinge, which gives him all the range you would want. It rotates all the way around, and of course it has the hinge part that lets it come all the way up, no problem at all. And if you're wondering why it's kind of like 3 parts instead of the normal 2, or it's actually 4 parts I guess, it's just because the way they did it, they kind of capped it in the front to make it look better. And you have your bicep swivel, which is just fine, no problems there. You have a single ball hinge, which gives you better than 90 degrees. And that'll rotate around if you need it to also. It does not rotate in the forearm though, it's a square peg, so that will not rotate. For the hands, we have a straight peg that connects to a big ball inside the forearm, and that allows for the hands to have pretty good range. I'm pretty happy about that. Now for the torso, I'm not sure if they're double or single. They feel like single. We have one here, and it lets him lean all the way forward and all the way back. You do get a little bit of blue rubbing off, a little bit of transfer right there, but it's still, I mean, if you can get rid of that, maybe with a magic rub eraser, you have really good range of motion. I love that. And you can lean them side to side. rotate it. It really has great range there. Now for the hips, they're a little misleading. It looks like they don't have the range, but they do. You can tuck the leg in and bring it pretty far forward. It does come out to the side though, so it is a little bit limited. Definitely could be better. And what you have is basically just a ball peg with a swivel. You can see that there. It's going to take a little bit of finesse, but you can get the legs into decent poses. You can see right there, they go all the way out to the side, no problem. You just have to tuck the thigh into the underwear area. Now for the knees, we have a double jointed knee, which gives him really good range. I like that a whole bunch. Now the only problem is, it's not the best looking. I'm not sure why they bothered with this extra hinge down here. It does tuck in just a little bit when you do it. You can see that little bit of change. It's not necessary, I don't think, and it doesn't look great, but here's the biggest problem. Maybe this isn't across the board, but mine was totally glued, and you can even see a little bit of white residue around there. I don't know why. It's not supposed to be glued, but mine was, and it took me a little bit of work to free it up. This leg didn't have that problem, but you do get really good range, so that's all right. Then the last thing is the ankle. It's just really a double ball peg, so it's not anywhere near as nice looking as on the D-Arts, but it is somewhat effective. Again, it's not very good looking, but you will be able to move the foot around. I would suggest not bringing it forward that far because it does create a big gap. So you're not going to have the best, I guess, vertical movement of the foot unless you really want to have big gaps. So it definitely could be better. The ball peg does work nicely for the ankle rocker. So all in all, is it a perfect figure? No. Is it really decent? Yes. And am I happy to have it? Yeah, I am. I think you guys will be too. Just be aware of those issues and I think you'll be all right. It's a pretty fun figure to have. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and all kinds of other good stuff. We talk about video games, movies, TV shows, we even live stream, all kinds of fun stuff, so come back for that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.